decaffeinated coffee with almond milk and one slice of wholemeal bread with 4.5 sins of peanut butter. So I've got curry and rice, so this is going to be 2.5 sins because it is a quarter of the batch I made yesterday. Hiya, yeah, we've just come back. We've done the whole Christmas tree thing. We just put that up in the corner of the room. We go for the first weekend in December, so it's Friday night, so it's 1st December, so we put that up. We're not very, we're not sort of religious or anything. We're not really we're not too heavy on Christmas. So we try and kind of push the whole Yuletide festivities thing, try and push the kind of, we're just lighting up the house so that as the kind of nights are colder, dark and such. So we have a mishmash of a Christmas tree of festivities. We've got all sorts of things on there. So I'm just sitting at the moment now, so we've done that, that's good, and that's this food I made yesterday, my curry, which is 2.5 sins. I've just heated that up, so I'll be eating that in a second. Tess asked to have a bit more information on the way I use my food diary. I've only been writing it for the kind of the last sort of week or so, just because I felt I needed another way of reminding myself where I was, because sometimes not only does a food diary help you know how much you've had, it also lets you know how much you've got left, in terms of sometimes you think, oh, what can I eat left, and you suddenly realise you've got a whole extra healthy B or something, or you've got a whole you haven't even used your healthy extra A, or things like that. So you suddenly it helps you realise how much food you can eat, rather than like thinking, oh, I'm running out of stuff. So basically I've just topped up so far, sort of written in so far what I've got, and the theory is that I've just got food at the side, so I write down, so rather than having to write down every single thing I eat, I wrote down kind of if I've had, so for example I had some breakfast this morning, and I know I had one piece of wholemeal bread because that's all I had left, and I had some peanut butter on it. So I know I've got some columns down. So in front of the food I've got speed column, I've got a free food column, I've got an A column, and I've got a B column, and then I've got a sins column at the end. And all I'm trying to make it super easy, so I don't have to think about, did I have some oregano on that, or did I I don't have to list every single free food I have or every single speed food I have. I'm just going to write that I've had some speed. So I've got lunch. I know for my lunch I had curry and rice, and I also had an apple. So I've just written speed, I've just ticked in speed and free, and that keeps a vague track on if I've made sure I've had some speed food in the day. If it's becoming that my snacks are more free food based, then I know I've got to just be a bit cautious and making sure I'm using more speed foods. So then I also tick in my A. I took my A for the drinks because I'm having almond milk, and I know I can't complete my whole healthy extra A with the almond milk because there's a lot there to get through. So I know I'm sort of thereabouts, so I just tend to tick it so that I know that I've had some of it. I've just put 0.5 because there's half of a healthy extra there with my breakfast and my healthy extra Bs, because it was one slice of 400-gram wholemeal bread, and it was 4.5 sins in that one in my breakfast, and it was 2.5 sins in my lunch. So then at the bottom I then just put a little total together. So at the moment, running total wise, I know I'm about 7 sins and I'm half a healthy extra B. And then I'll just add in sort of stuff. It just allows just a quick little jot system, just to help me out. And on the other side, I basically do it backwards, because then I can just use the lines I've already done. I kind of, on the previous page I can see them through, and I just copy it. So therefore the food goes at the other side, and then I sort of work my way through again. I just chuck my because I've got the SINS speed and free foods and B's and A's, then I know where I'm at. It just helps me not have to sort of write down every single thing I've eaten, but helps me keep a track of it, because I am rubbish at doing anything that involves any level of it has to fit in with my lifestyle, not make it so it's harder for me. So obviously, you know, there's enough hard stuff in your life. You don't really need like extra stress of how to write stuff down. So it's just a little notebook, but it's easier for me to do it like that than it is to write down every single thing I eat, because I just never remember it. So it's easier for me just to chuck in breakfast, lunch, dinner, tick tick tick, done, and I don't have to kind of think too much about it. So what I'm going to do now, basically I've got my curry. I do like that, whether it'll work or not, but I'm going to write down, I'm just going to write the curry because I don't know what the meal is I'm eating right now. It's not really tea, it's not really, I'll probably have some food later. I've got curry, and in there I've got some speed food, and I've also got some free food, and I've also got SINS, so I'm going to put that there. Now I know I've got 6, 7, 8, 9, 9.5. So I've got 9.5 SINS there that I've used so far, but I've still got 1.5 healthy extras. So I know that I can use them later. I'll be making some chips a bit later and some hummus to go with the chips. To go with the leftover chili. Oh, excuse me. So in the meantime, I'm just going to, before that, I'm going to eat this food so that I am ready to do the next part of the evening. See you in a bit, bye! I'm going to have an orange and a decaffeinated coffee with almond milk. Yeah, so I've just been just reading the magazine just quickly while, it's Living Well magazine, just quickly while I've been cooking some chips to go with the chilli. I don't know how long I've got to do this bit because I might get interrupted. But basically, I've been looking at this magazine, and there's just an article in an old one. It's March, April 2017, that one there, and in it is a piece called Letting Go of Guilt. So I was just reading that really. There was some nice, so I thought it might be a sort of like a starter for me to think about food issues and guilt around it. Just one of the main things it says: turn down the volume of the harsh voice telling you that you are useless. Turn up the volume of the understanding someone who really cares and can forgive. And it's a little piece by Margaret Miles Bramwell, and I think talks, it's similar to what Jane says about the two wolves, that which one you feed depends on which one is the strongest. And so I thought maybe a little video on that, guilt around food, and I'll probably use this piece here to kind of as a starting point of it. I seem to be having more time than I thought. I didn't know whether I was going to get very much time, so oh no, is it fair? So I keep thinking my partner's just gone for a run, and they'll be back any minute. So like, you know what I mean when you're doing a video and they stop halfway through. But yeah, the individual parts, it just says yeah, no, I'll do a proper video on it because there's so much in there, all about being in denial, self-fulfilling prophecies, and the diet trap. So I think if I get a minute, I can kind of read out the article and kind of, talk about how it makes me feel and all that sort of stuff. So I'll probably do that at some point. Right, I'm going to go and check the chips to make sure I have not burnt them. Just having a few chips. So this is what I do. I chop up my potatoes. I've just used some Fry Light just to line the trays. Just chop them, put them straight on there. and then put some fry light over the top, and then just like put some salt over the top. And I've got some in the microwave here. I haven't put them in the microwave, I'm just storing them in there to keep the warmth in. Oh, there he does have a warmth. So that's a batch I've already done. That's 2 trays worth. And now I'm just prepping to do another batch. But out of this batch, I'll give my partner will come back and he'll have some of that with chilli, and he'll have have some of that with chilli and hummus, and my children sometimes have a few little handies, and I'll have a few of those, and I'll have a few of those with them. No, thank you. Good girl. Then I'll have some of them as snacking on, basically, while I finish up with some gherkins and some onions. So yeah, I'll just thought I'd let you know that's what I'm eating at the moment, just a few snacks of those. Yeah, so it's just the morning after Friday, so Saturday morning. Just finished the video from yesterday because I didn't finish the video. So I did pretty well with my chips and such, and snacking on them and things. I sort of did my things. I took the DVD back to the library. I did the shopping for this evening. I did some I sat with my son because he wanted to watch some YouTube Kids on my phone, so I thought, yeah, that's fine. So he watched that, and I sat with him, and I kind of did some arm knitting, which is like a sort of thread together some sort of strips of clothes, and kind of did some arm knitting. But then I suddenly something switched in me and didn't quite work, so I sort of tied off my arm knitting just to see what it's like, and then it sort of started to fall to pieces. It wasn't quite what I expected. I was quite excited that it might make a blanket, but the holes were too big really, so I was a bit sad about that. I was like frustrated, that wasn't. And also my mum and dad are going to come and visit today here instead of me going over there, and suddenly they contacted just sort of in the evening to let me know that was going to happen, and I think that just kind of made me quite nervous. Not only did it make me nervous, but it put my head back in the place where it used to be. Really nervous of losing control. So it's not necessarily that I am nervous of losing control, although I am. It's more that it kick-started off the habitual paths in my brain. So also the coconut yogurt got me because of the fact that it sort of ran out of its date, and I still had half left, and though my partner said that he would eat it up, there's a bit of me that didn't want him to eat it up because it was mine, so I ate the rest of it. And I thought, well, that's, it's a little bit over on my sins, but I've eaten most of the sins of it, so I thought that would be fine. But then I just it sort of spiraled, and I think it's not necessarily I think my brain was just after something. It not food-wise, it wasn't like, oh, I want something to eat. It was more that it was like I had 2 or 3 worries on top of itself. But it wasn't that bad, really. I think I had a cheese and a cracker, and I had some more cinnamon roll chips, but I had them with I had some mayonnaise with it. So I wouldn't say I went tremendously over my sins. I don't think there was anything else. I had some sweets. There was like 5 sweets I had, because the kiddies had some sweets, but they didn't like them. They were like jelly sweets, but they didn't like those ones. So there's a bit of my brain that went, oh, well, I can have them then. But again, luckily there isn't a tremendous amount of stuff in our house that is that type of food that I would normally binge on, so it wasn't really, I wouldn't say it was tremendously over, like maybe by 10 sins or something like that. But what I realised, which is really important for me to realise, is that it's not quite doing it anymore. I've got balance where the food I eat when I eat like that and the effects I'm getting are not any good, like in terms of there's not really any joy or any bliss points or any, there's not really, there is bliss points, but there's not a tremendous amount of sort of reward from it, let's put it like that. I think I'm starting to get a good level of, it feels like a balance, like a seesaw, in terms of now the things I'm doing to bring joy into my life are starting to outbalance the joy I get from binge eating. I call it joy, it's obviously not joy, but do you know what I mean, the highs that I get from it. So I think I can really understand now that's starting to happen. And also I also had a bit of like squash. I made myself some sugar-free squash, because I still got some orange and mango squash that I had left over from ages ago, and I still feed the kids that occasionally sometimes. I had some and it was really disgusting, so it's fascinating that my taste buds have obviously just changed that much. That's really horrible. So I think it was interesting process. Also, I think it was very late, and I think my brain thought that it had to bolster it to keep going, but in reality it didn't need to, but it thought it did. I think, bolster eating is definitely one of those things that's a very hard habit to break. But I think it was a good learning curve. I think it was a good one, because it's almost like I tested out lots of the foods that I would have normally, wanted to eat, but in reality they weren't actually that good. They were nice, but they weren't sort of any more nice than the Slimming World of food I eat. Do you know what I mean? They weren't. The Slimming World food I eat is just as nice as those foods I ate. So it wasn't. It's sort of a nice little proof for my brain to remind me that how I eat is not. I still enjoy it. So I just wanted to add this little bit onto it so that I could piece together the video and upload. So I'll stop it here and I'll upload, and I will see you guys. I'll obviously video what I'm going to eat today and then upload that. Thanks guys for always being so supportive and always being there for me, and everybody wants to say sorry for going off plan, but I know that's not the point. It's not about being sorry or not, or being, it's just the process. This is a process of what it's like when you're trying to change your habits, and really, it's not a short process. It takes a long time. I've been trying to change my habits for about a year and a half, so it's since I started Slimming World, July 2016, so it does take a long time. Alright then, I'll see you in a bit, bye.